Good morning, my fellow Americans. How are you doing today? American Granny here. I hope today finds you well and safe, because in our country, American citizens having a right to be safe under the Kamala Harris and Joe Biden administration has fallen on deaf ears. If we're not foreigners that they paid to come here, we have no voice. We have been censored, threatened, and so much more. And yet, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden can get up and promote citizens to try and assassinate a candidate they're running against. And these citizens that are doing this, they're not taking the message the wrong way. They think they're following orders, and they are. Because the rhetoric coming out of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden has declared that clearly. Now, I have brought this up in the past, that American dollars being used to sponsor criminals coming out of other countries is illegal, and it's against the USA. It's against America. It's against our freedom. It's against our liberties. They have been eminent domaining and using civil forfeiture to take anything and everything they can get their hands on that belongs to an American citizen. An American citizen commits a minor infraction and can get thousands of dollars in fines. Not a felony, not even, a class, whatever, felony, nothing like that. We could jaywalk and end up in jail because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden policy that favors foreigners they paid using American dollars to bring here to our country. And now in states that were considered sanctuary states, those criminals, under Kamala Harris's guidance and funding using American tax dollars. Now, if the mob tried to do this, in fact, they did try to do this back in the 70s and 80s. So many of them ended up in prison or dead that it was an implosion of the mob, and it derailed their efforts. But to see our presidential candidate and our running president, current president, funding these criminal communities with American tax dollars, everybody's just, oh, well, it's just the government. Yeah, government-sponsored terrorists against American citizens. That's Kamala Harris's policies. Now, I don't have a problem at all with immigrants going through the proper process and coming to our country. But Kamala Harris negotiated with Venezuela to allow them to release all of their Venezuelan gangs that they were holding in prisons. She paid for their release and brought them here and gave them thousands and thousands of dollars. Americans can't afford groceries, but an illegal immigrant can come here, buy a car, and buy a house without having a credit check, without having to go through any of the processes that American citizens do. And the reason given by Kamala Harris for this, well, they're not American citizens. That's right. That's what she says. They're not American citizens, so we shouldn't prosecute them for crimes. We shouldn't prosecute them for illegally coming across the border, because We gave them your tax dollars to come here. We invited them. Now, when a criminal organization invites their criminals to come into a foreign country and attack citizens, take over neighborhoods, steal houses, steal cars, kill American citizens, and we have no voice because Kamala Harris says we don't have a right to. We are censored, and I expect this video to be censored as well. But the truth is, nobody has been calling for Kamala Harris to be taken out, although I'm really curious as to why. I mean, this woman has released violent offenders from our prisons in California, Washington State, Oregon, Ohio, New York, Chicago, and then brought in illegal immigrants on top of it. They didn't come here to get jobs. And those that were lied to by Kamala that there are all these jobs here are now sitting in camps going, how do we survive? They can't go home and get help from their families because Venezuela says, no, we don't want any of them back. Well, if Trump gets in office, I hope he tells them, well, we're going to send them back. And if you don't allow them in your country, then that's your cruelty against your own citizens. So, no more game. And I don't think we should have to fund one penny of deportation. The governments and foreign countries that have piled on in such mass numbers their criminal elements into our country, funded by the border czar, Kamala Harris, and she's still, I mean, we are talking at $62 billion gone just to bring them here. That doesn't count the money that they're getting once they're here. If my government gave me $13,000 for food, that would last me almost a year. But no, it's not even lasting the illegal immigrants a month. And the money they're given, if my government gave me anywhere from $15,000 to $25,000, I would buy a car that I could have a newer car that ran good, and I couldn't afford the insurance on a new car today because the insurance companies has also let their brains fall out. And everybody's screaming, oh, the economy's great. No, it's not. But what my heart goes out to is the real immigrants, not the gangs, the immigrants that believed in Kamala Harris's lies and ended up in tents, ended up in abandoned buildings, ended up with the same criminals they fled, waving their flag in this country. Yet Americans have been arrested for showing our own flag, for waving our own flags, arrested by our police. Now, this has got to stop. It really does. And I don't care how many billionaires from foreign countries sponsor Kamala Harris, especially Putin, who is currently threatening the U.S. to take out our internet because of our involvement with their war with the Ukraine. Well, for one, we don't belong in any other country. Our soldiers do not belong in any other country. We are not responsible for the wars that have been going on for at least 10,000 years between these factions and foreign nations. We don't belong in that. You know, Kennedy was right. We don't belong in these wars unless we are attacked by them. And their thing is, Kamala Harris is saying, no, we need to be there to protect the people, the innocent. but they're not protecting the innocent. They're funding Hezbollah, Hamas, and more to come to the U.S., the U.K. It's overwhelming, and it was intentionally done. Since the time that Biden and Harris have gone into office as president and vice president, we've seen our civil liberties attacked, censored, and our voices squashed. And then they bring in these people who are being promised jobs and money. And all these states that are sanctuary states are running out of, they're bankrupt. They're not running out of money, they're out of money. And screaming they want more of our tax dollars so they can continue to fund this. Well, I see it as organized crime being brought in from foreign countries sponsored by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's terrorists against Americans, sponsored by an American president and an American vice president. Now, I may have issues with the character of Trump. Every woman I know does. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather put a sexist jerk into the White House who is still taking care of the American people than put a Kamala Harris type individual who has used her propaganda to go into other states and give them the tools of how to sidestep our Constitution, sidestep our laws that forbid eminent domain and civil forfeiture without any evidence of wrongdoing. That's Kamala Harris. 18 states have been in civil battles to keep their farmland so that we can continue to feed the American people. But they're being taken by the government and given to big corporate sponsors, many of them billionaires from foreign nations. Do you really want Kamala Harris taking your tax dollars and giving it to the Haitians, the Venezuelans, the Guatemalans, and more? Because they are currently still doing this. And she is vice president who could stop it. But she's not taking any action to do so. Even though on the podium, oh yeah, I'm going to change this, I'm going to do that. No, she is not. She is not going to help an American citizen, even if they threaten her to do so. She hates the American people. She has proven that, especially in California, where the most prosecuted crimes are misdemeanors by civilians who are having their homes taken over those crimes, who are having their cars taken over, their bank accounts seized, their stocks seized for minor infractions of the law. But a foreigner, an illegal immigrant, can go into a grocery store, shoot 3 people, grab as much stuff as he wants to take out, and walk right out, and the police won't touch him. Because Newsom's policies say, no, it's okay for illegal immigrants, foreigners, to come in our country and steal from us. It's okay. It is. It's okay. It's okay. That's what he keeps telling people. And frankly, I'm sick of it. I want, as an American, I want my country back. And my country was already diverse. So it didn't need more diversity from criminals. Now, if a Venezuelan farmer wanted to come here, I promise you he would not get the same deals as the Venezuelan gang members that were released from the prisons in Venezuela got. So if you're thinking about Kamala for president, you need to be mentally evaluated. I'm sorry. It sounds harsh, but y'all know her policies. There have been 4 years of her policies in the White House, and that does not count the years spent as the Attorney General. And most of the time, she wasn't even in her own state when she was the Attorney General. She was going to other states and promoting anti-American policies and laws be put in place, and protections be put in place for illegal immigrants. America is a nation of immigrants, but there is a proper process. And I just can't wait, because I know the diseases from all these millions that Kamala Harris herself has sponsored to come into this country start hitting us. And then they're going to say, oh, this is why we got to quarantine you back in your home. That's why you cannot be out if you're an American citizen. Well, if you're an American citizen, there's not much reason for you to leave your home, because if you do, your home becomes vulnerable to illegal immigrants who want to walk in and take what they want. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's 20 states have laws like that. 20 states out of, that's almost half the states sponsoring illegal aliens and Venezuelan, Guatemalan, Honduran, and Brazilian criminals to come here and do their best to destroy our country. That's why I say Kamala Harris is not about America. She is about a foreign invasion being forced down the American citizens' throats, and the American citizens being forced to pay for it all. Had enough. I've had enough. And I see a picture of Kamala Harris and I cringe. I cringe because of the rhetoric I've heard come out of her mouth. She is paying people to fill her rallies, and she is counting desperately on illegal aliens to vote for her. There are still several states that refuse to take illegal immigrants off the ballot. And every one of those states is Democrat-sponsored. They refuse to protect your rights as American citizens. And every one of them should be thrown in prison. I see treason all over the place, and nothing being done about it. Why? Because our government says, well, you know, it's a government official. They should be allowed to do whatever they want. No, we have laws against that. And Kamala Harris has broke every single one of them. But to sponsor and fund foreign gangs is probably the biggest crime I've seen that administration commit, other than eminent domaining people's homes or civil forfeiture for minor infractions of the law, like a speeding ticket. Yeah. One lady, I watched her video, she lost her car. They even took her husband's car and put a foreclosure notice on a paid-for home because of 2 traffic violations that she had not paid, and was currently disputing. But she lost her cars, she lost her home. This is the policy under Democrats who are against American civilians. And I'm really tired of it. And if they don't arrest Kamala Harris for the assassination attempts that she promoted against Trump, then I will have lost all my faith in my American government. Trump was restoring some hope in Americans. And that's what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden have to stop. Because if Americans get their voice back, if Americans get their rights back, even if they are human rights that have been taken away, then they lose control of the organization they fund with American tax dollars. American Granny out. Shame on my country. And shame on Kamala Harris, the biggest criminal I have yet to see. Oh, I have one more question. Why are countries like Russia and other foreign entities like Saudi Arabia and Iran, Iraq, why is it they are all sponsoring Kamala? I mean, Putin, he is a cheerleader when it comes to Kamala. Yet, he's sending warships to the West Coast and invading our territories. So why is he sponsoring Kamala Harris? Why is the Russian and Chinese leaders sponsoring and being cheerleaders for Kamala Harris? Because they know that Trump will give us back our rights and take away the freedom that they have had to manipulate our government through the Biden-Harris administration. Sad truths for this old granny. Sad truths. But it is curious as to why so many big countries who hate America are sponsoring and promoting Kamala Harris. Good questions. Okay, American Granny out. I love y'all, and I'll talk to you later if my internet works. You know how it can be these days. You're paying full price and getting half the service. So, let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst. That's all I gotta say. American Granny out. Mwah.